This is a continuation of the first video I did on the visual effects, so I will just cut to the chase. This is the shot where the tiny ninja throws Jory around. Right here there was a little fix on the dirt I had to do because there was this spot from a previous burn pile. So I just grabbed a piece from somewhere over here and then moved it over there. And shadow for the dojo. I forgot to explain that in one of the shots earlier. Yes, I draw a shadow and then just turn down the opacity, which makes it more clear, more opaque. And I didn't have a green screen to put the dojo behind him, so I had to rotoscope around my brother David there, just by using the roto brush tool. And then Jory. He was just Christian on a green screen doing this. And then do a bunch of keyframe movements. And when I was showing the first render of this to my dad, he said that when people fall on the ground like that, they bounce up a little bit, so I was sure to add that in there, a little bounce up and then back down before he goes back flying again. I also use this little puppet tool, which allows me to put points in certain places, which allows me to like bend certain parts of the body and stuff. So that when he's bringing him up into the air and stuff, I can bend his legs up a little bit. I could have made this look more realistic if I had played with the puppet tools for a few hours more, but I got kind of tired of this shot, so I just left it how it was. Go, fast! Throw him down! Sharks. This is how this shot looked originally.
Well, of course I am!
And then I found a nice picture of a pool on the internet. Here, let me open the original photo. And then masked around it, and then added little shadows there that I drew. And I couldn't use the original pool because, well, it's a still shot. So instead, I just used a video that I took of a lake that I originally shot for my video Godzilla in Real Life, and then color graded it to look green, so that it looked like you couldn't see the sharks because the pool was gunky, and then simply found an image of shark fin, and underneath the shark fins, I made it look like waves were coming up against the shark fins by adding little masks around it that just kept moving up and down, and rotoscoped around the tree, and there you have it.
Well, of course I am!
For the coals, I simply found an image of coals on the internet, masked around it, and then moved it around until it looked like I had it on the ground right, added some shadows underneath it and stuff, and of course rotoscoped around Christian's arms, and then keyframed the exposure up and down throughout the shot to make it look like it's getting hotter and colder. This sunset shot was the first time I ever actually did some three-dimensional stuff in After Effects. This is what it looks like. The original roof here was this image I found on the internet of some skyscraper, and then of course I masked around the sides and then scaled the proportions and stuff. And then I masked the roof of it right here in a separate spot so I could rotate it the other way. And then for the roof, what I had to do, since there's a whole bunch of stuff on it, was take pieces from right there and then duplicate them all over the roof. And that's why there are so many of these layers right here, is because that's all just little strips filling that up. And then the clouds, those were just this image I found on the internet of clouds at sunset, and then after rotating it and messing around with the color correction and stuff, I have this. And then I had to mask around a separate cloud, and I turned up the feather a bit on that to cover up the underside of the building. The sunset background I also found on the internet, and then just color graded it so that it looks like that. And then the roof was just a picture I took of the concrete next to the garage. The original thing was awfully tilted, so I just distorted it a little bit until I could get it fixed like that. and then use that as the grounds for all of this. It took me about 10 hours to make this, mostly because of trying to get every little piece perfectly to the exact proportion. So as you can see, masks and rotation all exactly perfectly put into place. And then for the shadowed parts, I just made the color grading slightly darker than that of over here. And then of course feathered out that so it doesn't look like it's abruptly stopping like this. So that's pretty much it. These shots were originally recorded on the concrete patio right next to my doorstep, and they were turned into this by taking a picture of the concrete flat and then of course color grading everything to make it match the color of the clip right here, and then would create a mask around the original shot and feather it out. And then I would use the pictures I took of the concrete and then three-dimensionally rotate them until it looked like it fit where Jory was. And then I would just keep duplicating the layers and then moving them over until it occupied the full space.
Why are you doing this?
This is the shot where the Akumajaku duplicates trample everyone. Everyone had to be shot separately on green screen. And one of the annoying things about this part was when Wes picked up the sword, there was so much motion blur in the shot that the green screen didn't catch it, so I had to just draw a little gray figure, and then had to have it keyframe move with his hand until it showed up on the green screen again. And After Effects can't simulate shadows, but for the dojo and stuff, I would just draw one using shapes and stuff, so I can draw shapes. However, for something like this, that is way too difficult to move them all exactly right and stuff, so I just decided to hope that no one notices. And then each one of these Akumajaku duplicates was just Joel doing this a bunch of different times. And it definitely was difficult getting all of these to move in the exact right position. And whenever they covered up a character perfectly, then I removed the layer of green screen for that so you couldn't see it anymore, until everyone just disappeared in the shot.
And now I encourage you to go back and watch the movie and you will appreciate the visual effects way more. I will do a normal behind the scenes eventually, but probably not for a while because I'm doing other stuff. In the meantime, I also recorded a cast reaction video for when the cast saw The Training of a Ninja for the first time after they acted in it. And I can also upload the original storyboard for The Training of a Ninja, so if you want to see any of those, please comment below and I will upload them, but without anyone requesting it, I won't. So let me hear your opinion. And I'll see you in the next video.